Hi folks, this is Dave Csanda with this week's Buzz Bite report from the Upper Midwest at anglingbuzz.com. Fishermen, as we all know, are masters of excuses. We come up with an excuse for everything, a reason why the fish aren't jumping in the boat. And this week, I'm going to go to a literary reference, if you can believe it or not, to start this off, saying it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Okay, and that's kind of what our fishing has been like in the upper Midwest the last couple of weeks. And that's because we are in an in-between time. It's not quite summer, it's not quite fall. We have been enjoying the wonderful warm weather the last few weeks. It has extended our nice time in September. It has also extended the changeover process called the fall turnover. And the lakes are still hovering in many areas here, around 65 degrees or at least in the low 60s. They haven't dropped yet into the 50s, which means that we finally set up on our fall patterns. So in many cases, the fishing patterns for all species are still rather confused. And I've heard that from Ken Hutchinson down at Lake Oahe, talking about how the walleye patterns are kind of a little bit difficult, although the smallmouth bite there is very, very good. Up northern Minnesota, Billy Rosner was saying how at Lake Vermilion, the deep fall jig and minnow bite hasn't kicked in yet. We all know minnows are great for walleyes in fall. Hasn't quite kicked in yet. Out at the big NWT tournament that just finished up at Devil's Lake in North Dakota, the fish that were caught were a combination of lead core trolling, crankbaits in deep water, plus some vertical jigging with jigging wraps on deep structure. Okay, a variety of patterns. Okay, and that's what we're seeing in a lot of different places. I know in many of the areas we fish in Minnesota, the bass are still a few here, a few there. You're getting some on spinner baits, some on the weed line, some on a jig worm, some on a crawling a big jig on the bottom, a little bit of everything. Pike, much the same thing. You're getting some throwing spinner baits here and there, but it's not consistent. And I think what we are facing with is we got conditions where the fish aren't aggressively schooled and displaying their classic fall patterns yet. We can always say there's always exceptions to the rule, and one thing that this long extended period of warm weather has done, it has extended the catfish bite on the upper Red River north of Fargo all the way up to Winnipeg. And just talking to Brad Durek yesterday, he and his clients put 500 pounds of big channel cats in the boat yesterday. The great big channel cats on the finest channel cat fishery in the world are going nuts, and it's going to be that way for the next 10 days or so as the weather stays good. So you can check out his report by going to either North Dakota or Minnesota, clicking on your BuzzBite report and seeing what Brad has to say. And as always, you can go around to the different reporters that we have throughout the region and get some clues as what they are doing to catch fish in their areas. Hasn't been easy for anybody the last few weeks, but pretty soon those fall patterns are going to set in, and then we're all going to look like heroes because our classic patterns are going to apply. In the meantime, we're all out there making a lot of casts and hoping that something's going to bite. And as I always like to say, go out to these different reporters, see what they have to say, and they're going to help you put more and bigger fish in the boat in the coming weeks ahead.